Can you beat Spyro the Dragon without breaking any chests in the game? Now, I've just finished avoiding boxes in my Crash Bandicoot series, so I thought it'd be fun to try something similar in Spyro. Now, it's quite easy to avoid chests in the game, so this isn't going to be a very challenging run difficulty-wise, but I was curious to see if you can beat the game without breaking any chests. Now, there are many types of chests in Spyro. There are regular chests, locked chests, spinning chests, firework chests, heavy-duty chests, jumping chests, and I even consider extra lives to be a type of chest. So, can you beat the game without breaking a single one? Here are the rules for this run. First of all, never break a single chest, and secondly, complete as much of the game as possible. Here are just a few disclaimers for this run. First of all, unlike Crash Bandicoot, there's no way to keep track of all the chests in Spyro. So, to keep me accountable, a full playthrough is available in the description if you're keen to watch. Secondly, I'm playing the Reignited trilogy on Xbox, so it might be slightly different to the PlayStation 1 version. And finally, as usual, this is a blind run. I have not watched anyone else attempt this beforehand, so if someone's done this already, please support their content and watch their attempt as well. Let's begin. Our first homeworld was the Artisan world. I freed the first dragon, and I started collecting gems. I resisted my urge to break open some chests. I collected every bit of treasure I could find. And then it was time to enter Dark Hollow. Now I reckon Dark Hollow has some of the best music in the game. I came across my first locked chest, but as long as I don't bring the key to the chest, we should be safe. I went on a killing spree. I assassinated the big boys. I saved all the dragons. And then I teleported home. 146 gems in my pocket. Up next was Stone Hill. I challenged the goats to a charging battle. I was tempted again by another horde of chests, but I resisted the urge to break them. I killed my first egg thief. And that was all I could do. 243 gems. Up next was the town square. I gathered some gems. I made some steak. I freed all of the dragons. I caught another thief. After chasing down the egg thief, I wasn't paying attention, and I accidentally charged into a chest. I force quit the game as quick as I could. Now this reset the gem counter back to the last autosave at the last dragon, so I had to hunt down the egg thief again, but fortunately, the chest was still alive. This was a very close call. And then I walked away, with a cool 345 gems in my pocket. Next up was our first boss level, Toasty. Now don't be fooled, the real boss is these dogs right here with their crazy attacks. There was only a few chests in this level, so most gems I could find on the floor or from killing enemies. So, things were looking good. I freed the dragon, and I started toasting Toasty. I died to the crazy dogs, but I got my revenge, and level complete. 433 gems in the bank. It was time for our first flying level, Sunny Flight. Now if you look at the objective list for this level, it clearly says chest is one of the objectives. But because I'm not going to break any chests this run, I cannot destroy these chests. But I destroyed all the barrels, crashed all the planes,
with no survivors,
broke every arch, and that was it. 180 gems was all I could get from this level. Now there are 5 balloonists in this game, and each one has a different requirement for transporting you to the next homeworld. Now freeing the dragons and collecting eggs is pretty easy to do, but I was worried about collecting gems. Would it be possible to get 1200 gems in the first 2 worlds without breaking any chests? And then, is it possible to get 6,000 gems in 5 worlds without breaking a chest? There was only one way to find out. Here's a recap of my current progress. I freed every dragon and collected every egg I could. I was able to get 613 gems without breaking a single chest. So, it was time to move on to the Peacekeeper's world. Our next stop was the Peacekeeper's world. And I started administering peace to all. I blew up the rock. I found a forbidden treasure room, but the temptation was too great, so I ran away quickly. I freed all of the dragons, and I caught another thief. It was time to visit Dry Canyon. I said hello to the locals. I killed another thief while carefully avoiding some chests. I preyed on some vultures. I killed some more enemies, and I found a magenta gem with 25 gems. And after clearing everything, I had a total of 943 gems. Next up was Cliff Town. I tried some spicy cooking. I caught another thief. I did a perfect glide to the other side. I hunted some more vultures. I found some hidden treasure. And I finished the level with a bounty of treasure. 1,149 gems. I was getting so close to my 1,200 gem goal. Up next was the Ice Cavern. I was finding some decent treasure from enemies. There was just so much treasure just lying on the floor. I freed all of the dragons, and I made my escape. With 1,406 gems, our first gem obstacle had been completed. But could I still get 6,000 by the end of 5 worlds? Up next was Dr. Shemp. Now some of the enemies in this level just run off a cliff, so the gems were building up fast. I found another magenta gem on a distant cliff. I was told that Dr. Shemp was cold.
Dr. Shemp thinks he's so cool.
So I decided to warm him up a bit. I fled the scene with a nice stack of 1,604 gems. It was time to go flying again in Night Flight. I collected all the rings. I lit all the lanterns. I flew through the arches. But there were chests again. So, all I could walk away with was 180 gems. Let's recap my spoils. 1,784 gems in total. 32 dragons, 5 eggs, and no chests broken.
The Magic Crafter's world if you're ready.
Moving on to the Magic Crafter's world. Welcome to Magic Crafters. I wasted no time, and I killed another egg thief. I got a cheeky double kill on some blokes. I caught another thief red-handed. I tested out the supercharge and got another magenta gem. I hunted down some Hogwarts students, and then I made my way to Alpine Ridge. I made some friends. I glided across the chasm. I went on a wizard killing spree. I got made fun of for being short. I rescued another egg, and it was time to go. 2,180 gems in the bank. Up next was the High Caves. I was about to explore the cave, but then I saw the giant spider.
Nope.
I killed some green boys. I got my first girlfriend. Now notice that when you're kissed by a fairy, it automatically shoots a flame ahead of Spyro. This will be important to remember later on. I fried the giant spiders. I caught 2 more thieves, and I returned home with a cool 2,390 gems. Up next was Wizard Peak. There are a lot of enemies in this level.
is my favorite supercharged spot. Use it to bash those wizards.
I listened to the dragon's advice. I killed all the fake Dumbledores. I killed 2 more thieves. And I completed my egg collection. I found a magenta gem from killing a wizard. I was practicing my killing curse.
Avada Kedavra.
And Wizard Peak was done. 2,696 gems. It was time to fight Blowhard. The Stormy boys in this level were quite rich. I got my first hit on the boss. I hunted down some more green boys. Now people were saying this boss was hard, but I got the final blow. Get it? I'll show myself out. 2,913 gems. Up next was Crystal Flight. I hunted down all the planes. I just managed to complete the arches before running out of time. But on the second attempt, I was able to finish it off, and I added another 180 gems to my savings account. So, where do we stand so far? 3 worlds were complete. There were 3,093 gems in the bank, 46 dragons had been rescued, all 12 eggs had been collected, and not a single broken chest. But could I get the other 2,907 gems needed to progress with only 2 worlds left? It was time to move on to the Beastmaker's world to find out. Welcome to Beastmakers. There was a lot of treasure lying about. I found a dragon who was as introverted as me.
It's great to see you, but I gotta go.
I went boar hunting. I said hello to some new Zappy boys. I went looking for any missing treasure. And then it was time for Terrace Village. This place was filled to the brim with Zappy boys. I rescued my 50th dragon, meaning I had enough to move on to the next homeworld. I hunted down all the enemies, and then it was time to return home, with a cool 3,418 gems. Up next was Misty Bog. These plant things used to scare me so much as a kid, but I'm a man now, and I'm still scared. I broke through the enemy ranks. There were so many enemies in this level. Unfortunately, my dragonfly sparks had died, so I had to collect all the gems the old-fashioned way. I glided over the swamp, but I was overwhelmed by enemies. But I got my revenge. And it was time to go home. 3,733 gems. Up next was Treetops. The music in this level is fire. This was such a confusing level as a kid, but the tricks needed to get to the far island are burned into my memory. I killed the thief for the magenta gem. After some more charging across the ramps, I made it to the roof of the end island. I got another magenta gem from the thief, and it was time to go. 4,014 gems. Our next boss fight was Metalhead. I made my way past the enemies. I started breaking Metalhead's pylons. Phase 1 was done. I found a stack of gems from all the enemies he was throwing at me. And after destroying all the pylons, Metalhead was no more. Up top there was another juicy stack of treasure just waiting to be picked up. And by the time I left, 4,314 gems. Our next level was Wild Flight. Now, just outside this level, there was one single blue gem sitting on the ground that I missed before. Sadly, I wasn't recording at the time I picked up this gem. But if you're wondering why the gem counter increases by 5 here, it's because of that gem. Wild Flight was pretty much the same formula as before. I destroyed all the boats, broke all the arches, hunted all the planes, and and collected my 180 gems. So how's our progress going? We have 4,499 gems and 58 dragons. I must find 1,501 more gems in the next world, otherwise this run is over. It was gonna be tight. It was time for the Dreamweaver's world. Now the Dreamweaver's world is filled with enemies known as fools. After waiting for them to shrink down in size, I charged ahead. I commandeered the cannon and started shrinking enemies. Our next level was Lofty Castle. I popped some balloons. I had to mentally consider if a cage was a type of chest, but only a psychopath would keep people in a chest, so I think we're safe. I rescued some more fairies. Charging these enemies was super satisfying. I used the supercharge and glided to the last of the treasure. It was time to go home with 4,963 gems. Up next was Dark Passage. There were some nightmarish enemies up ahead, but once you hit the full, they become much easier to manage. I hunted every enemy I could. I dodged the scary turtles. I was so tempted to light this firework, but I resisted the urge and went home. 5,270 gems. Next up was Haunted Towers. I charged my way through the enemies. I found a new girlfriend and used my new flame powers to destroy the giant knights. I got another kiss, broke down the door, and supercharged to the hidden tower. I climbed my way up the stairs, and on my way to get a very special kiss, disaster happened. Remember when I said that Spyro automatically flames when he gets kissed? Well, it turns out the chests were in the way and were destroyed in the progress. I was able to quit the game quickly before it autosaved, which fortunately undid my mistake, but it was such a close call. I made it back to the top, and thankfully on return, all the chests were still alive. But now that I was here, I was trapped. The giant knight would not let me leave. I tried to get a kiss from the fairy on a different angle, but she wasn't interested. I was essentially trapped here by my own challenge, so I had to teleport to a different level to escape. But I came back and cleared up any enemies I could reach, and I walked home with 5,469 gems. Our next boss fight was against Jack. The level starts off with some combat. I sent 4 enemies into the abyss. I tried listening to my elders,
But watch out for flying boxes.
but I ignored the advice and I paid the price. Eventually I beat the Jack in the Box and he gave me a cool 100 extra gems. And I returned home, 5,831 gems. But there was only one level left. Would I make the 6,000 gem requirement? This was it. It was time for Icy Flight. I lit all the lanterns, destroyed all the trains, hunted down the helicopters, and walked away with 180 gems. The 6,000 gem goal had been met. I had done it, but only just. I was now able to move on to the final homeworld with only 11 gems to spare. Here's our current standings. 6,011 gems, 74 dragons, and despite a very close call in the Haunted Towers, all chests are still alive. I talked to the balloonist and then made my way to the final homeworld. Welcome to Gnasty's Hub. Now this is the smallest homeworld in the game, and it has the fewest levels. I collected all the treasure I could find. I freed the dragon.
Hey, didn't I already free you?
And it was time to go to Nork Cove. The Norks in this level love to use barrels. There were some TNT barrels up ahead, but I didn't want to take any risks of blowing up the chests, so I timed my flames well. I used the barrels to snipe some enemies, and I left the cove with 6,273 gems. Twilight Harbor was next. Now the enemies in this level love to use guns. I supercharged up onto the roof to collect some treasure. This level has some of the meanest enemies in the game. I did my best to survive, but I wasn't fast enough. Later on, a stray bullet sent me into the ocean where I drowned. But eventually I made it through with 6,515 gems. It was time for the final boss. Let's beat Gnasty Nork. I immediately hunted down the first key thief, and then I opened the door to reveal another thief. I chased the thief, but I was careful to avoid hitting any chests. I got the key, I opened the door, and the final chase was on. There were a lot of chests on the path that Gnasty runs along. During the chase, I used glides to avoid hitting any chests. I managed to land a hit on Gnasty. Then I glided over the lava pits and delivered the final blow.
You're toast, Nork.
I watched some credits, and then I freed the final dragon.
Come back when you have reached 100%.
Well, that's not gonna happen. But how close did I get to completing the game? I collected a total of 6,780 gems without breaking a single chest. I freed all 80 dragons, got all 12 eggs, and achieved 77% completion of the game. Now, it's possible I might have missed a few gems, but I was very pleased with this outcome. So, can you beat Spyro the Dragon without breaking any chests? Yes, you certainly can. Well, this was a fun video to make, and thank you for watching and letting me play through this game again. I know this is slightly different to the Crash series, but if you're keen for me to do the rest of the Spyro trilogy, let me know. Well, I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a fantastic new year. God bless.